Warning: the following podcast contains adult language and possibly sexual conversation that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. I guess that means anyone who likes ice cream, it's bedtime. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect those of the podcast or its affiliates. The content discussed is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as professional advice. These are professional retards, not psychiatrists for your fucked up sensibility or mental illness. Please consult a qualified expert for any specific concerns or questions. Thank you for listening, and if you are one of my precious little snowflakes, go get some minty chip and some of that good-smelling kids' shampoo. We aren't wanted here with these men.
Now, we have Wendigoon back. How have you been doing, bud? It's been a fucking while.
I have been doing good, my guy. It has been a while. How are you doing?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Everything's been a clusterfuck. There's a lot of changes going on behind the scenes, but I'm working my ass off, and hopefully everything's actually going correctly because everything I just changed on here and all of that shit. So hopefully this is all fucking working properly and my audio is not blown out. Good chance that it might be. But, normal life shit. Congrats on the wedding. Congrats on all of that shit.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. Means a lot.
It's been a hell of a fucking time, though. It's been, like 6 months since we've actually had a full-on conversation? Something like that?
That sounds about right, because I remember...
Yeah, it's
Had I been to the film set last time we talked, or was I about to go?
No, you just got back from the first time. If you went more than
I just
once,
got back. Okay, so
like
that would have been about 6 months ago. Yeah, that's right. I had a great time there, of course, as I mentioned before. But yeah, it has been a bit. You're right.
Yeah, how did that actually go? Yeah, we got a new overlay. I've been working my ass off behind the scenes trying to get everything together. With all the changes going on, yeah.
It looks very good. It's very nice.
Yeah, worked my ass off on it. I got to change the logo now, but everything else is going to stay the same.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. But you were asking how it went and everything. Everything went great. It's in post-production right now. Never been part of a movie production before, but from the people who have been, they're telling me everything's going the way it normally does. Editors take their time with it, VFX take their time with it and whatnot.
Yeah.
So just waiting out, see where it goes.
Yeah, all the normal bullshit of just like sitting there waiting, hoping that everything kind of turns out correctly.
Yep.
Did they end up giving you a timeline or anything like that on when it should be released? Or?
Yeah, we're aiming for like early November. There's a chance it'll be Halloween, but more than likely.
Oh, that'd be an amazing fucking release date. In all honesty,
it would be. The only issue is we'd be competing with Five Nights at Freddy's.
Well, there's Five Nights at Freddy's. There's a new Saw movie coming out probably.
That's
I
right.
think like
there's Saw.
October 19th or something like that, or like a week or two before. Like this Halloween, actually, surprisingly, is kind of surprising with the things that are coming out.
Yeah. I hope Saw's good because I was a big fan of the old ones, and I wasn't that hot on Spiral.
Spiral was bad. Jigsaw was bad.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fan, but however, if this new 10, I think they're just calling it Saw X or whatever.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, if like Saw X is good, I'll be so thrilled. They don't have to be good films; they just have to be good Saw films. I want weird traps, I want goofy deaths, and I'll be completely satisfied.
Make it a game that I can sit there and play as I'm sitting there watching the movie. That's all I want is just to be able to be like, dumb fuck, it's right there, and play the game with them without having to worry about getting shot. That's my only opportunity.
I just want to participate.
Exactly. I want to participate without any of the fear. That's all.
I want to feel like I'm running a dark web red room as I'm watching the film.
Exactly. Like if they released it so way on YouTube, it looked like you were watching it and you could interact with the thing and it just popped up, said, oh, this person's donated. You know how fucking crazy that would go?
I'd be thrilled. That'd be fantastic. Isn't that kind of what that horror movie... it was dark web, right? Unfriended dark web or whatever.
I heard of that. I'd never watched it.
I think it's about like these kids got into a red room from their PCs. It's one of those movies where the whole film's like the Skype call they're having, or the FaceTime or whatever, and they these like dark web, hackers, whatever,
Yeah.
4chan monster, the movie company thinks the internet is. That's like people in chat like saying how they should die, how they should get murdered, and donating to make it happen.
It's an
So like that,
interesting
only I want to be
premise.
the donator.
Yeah, it's an interesting premise, but if they opened it that way, there was actual interaction. Imagine how interesting that would be. Like have a
Yeah,
horror movie
yeah,
play out like Fish Tank or something like that. Just super, super interactive, super in depth, almost shot in like a reality style. It would be super interesting.
that'd be fun. I would
It would
vibe
be
with that.
really fucking hard to do, but I just
It
wonder
would.
how that would like if it's actually possible.
Hmm.
I don't think people
I,
would believe it though.
there's been a bunch of stuff like that where they've like incorporated horror into like realistic or real world scenarios or whatever. But I think seeing one done justice like that, where like you said, like a fish tank or kind of like a Big Brother almost setting for horror would be good. There's one film called, or it's a mini series actually on Netflix called Dead Set.
Yeah.
It was made by the creator of Black Mirror before he made Black Mirror. And it's about the TV show Big Brother, like the Big
Hmm.
Brother house and
Yep.
everything. It's about that house in a zombie apocalypse. So like while they're in their zombies, there's a zombie outbreak. So then they become the survivors and all that. And for a little bit, they do really well about having everything being from the cameras in the house and stuff like that. But then in the first episode, they transition to like standard camera and stuff. So they kind of lose the found footage griminess of it. But it's still a really good zombie movie.
Yeah,
Um,
I think the level of like disconnect of that reality TV style where it's like, oh, there's a camera in the fucking corner of the room and it's just
mm,
capturing shit. Things
yeah,
being off center like that or out of complete center of frame and stuff like that would be an interesting way for films like that to actually show what they're trying to do in a different way than what most films now do. And you see that when reality TV kind of took off, like you have The Bachelor, which is completely opposite, and then you have something like Big Brother, where it's very, very found footagey of like it's just CCTV cameras and just watching
yeah,
what the fuck the people do.
right. Yeah, yeah, and I like a lot of like found footage horror gets a bad rap because it's really easy to make a bad found footage movie because they're
Yeah,
cheap. But if you know how to use them effectively, you can do some really cool stuff.
yeah, no, it's the flip of a coin. In all honesty, if you flip tails and it's fucking horrible, there is
Mhm.
no redeeming it.
Yeah,
But it could be a hell of a lot better than I think anything we've seen. It
yeah,
could be
yeah.
up there with the high tier movies that are super super CGI and super edited and everything else. It's just can you actually portray the thing and the thing that you want to do and storytell the proper way.
One of my favorite horror movies ever actually is a found footage film. It's Wreck, which you might
Yeah,
have heard of it before. Yeah,
I've never heard of that.
oh really?
Really?
Um, it's a Spanish film, like made in Spain, and it is about a film crew, or not film crew, a news station who goes to report at an apartment building where there's some weird infection that starts to break out. So it's about the firefighters and police escorting this news crew into this apartment building that quickly becomes quarantined, and the events that unfold for the news crew in there. One of my favorite horror movies ever, and the entire
Sounds a
thing's
lot
like
like
very low
Quarantine.
budget found footage. Actually, Quarantine is a remake of Wreck.
Oh,
It's
okay.
an American remake. Yeah. So
Yeah, I remember watching the first and the one that's in the fucking terminal for the airport as well. They were good, but they
yep,
weren't
yep.
fantastic. Like a lot of those
I don't
things,
like. I don't. Yeah, I don't like the Quarantine films. They're not that good. Wreck,
it
however, you know.
it's so hard to watch a horror movie where it's like, yeah, that's fucking perfect. It's fucking mint. Because
Hmm.
none of them are able to scare me at this point. It's like, can I suspend my disbelief enough so that way I'm just calm and level headed enough to get jump scared?
Yeah,
And can I believe the story? Because at this point, all of it's so disbelievable, it's ridiculous.
I've managed to force myself down enough rabbit holes that I do come across things from time to time that do like scare me in earnest. Um, it's normally conceptual at this point. It's rare that I see something that freaks me out. Uh, but I'll come across like a horror concept or like so every now and then I'll see something that I think is kind of freaky. But yeah, like I saturate myself with it so much. It's hard to scare me now. But I really like when it happens. When it works, I'm like, oh yeah, that's that sweet spot.
Yeah, and I could really imagine that with the content and stuff that you make. I could really see where you just get oversaturated with, oh, this is fucking gore. This is scary.
Yeah.
I kind of just get desensitized to it. And I think a lot of us have done that throughout the past couple of years where we're sitting here watching war footage and all of this shit live because it goes straight to our phones and everything else, or on Reddit.
Yeah, I've tried to be better about it lately. But not before I even did content like this. Like, I was a kid in high school with the internet, so of course, like it'd immediately be like, what's the most grisly, brutal thing I can look up? Blah blah blah. And I really did mess myself up in a way.
Yeah.
Because I don't realize how desensitized to things I am. Like the other day, I was talking to Kayla, my fiance, and I was on Twitter and I saw a video of like someone getting hit by a car, and it was like they got hit really hard, went flying or whatever. And I was like, "Yo, Kayla, look at this!" And she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "It's a guy getting hit by a car." And she goes, "Why would I want to see that?" And I froze for a minute, and I had to.
Why
sit there
wouldn't you want to see it? Like, what the fuck are you talking
that
about?
was my initial reaction. I'm like, "What's your problem?" But I had to sit there for a minute and be like, "Yeah, why? Why would she want to see that? Why am I okay with seeing that?" And that was like a serious moment of self-reflection for me. Of like, man, I have a problem.
Those times of finding out when you're not a normie is one of the weirdest kind of things in the world. You're like, oh, oh fuck, I'm used to all of this. Why the fuck am I?
Yeah.
Why am I used to all of this? The fuck is the problem now?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know, and it's something that happened to. I don't think it's necessarily like wrong or I'm in any bad position or whatnot, but I have tried to curb myself a bit with like what I consume, because I still, thankfully, I know some people who say that they're so disconnected from it that they can watch the most brutal thing ever and just not feel anything. I do, at least when I see something really bad, like feel like my core trying to pull away for it, like it hurts my soul a bit. And I've tried to be better lately about not making that happen. Like if something starts to bother me, just leave it. I don't need to get any worse than I already am. But horror, I'm too far gone. I'm not pulling those scares back out.
No, and it's like, what are you gonna do? Do you just not watch anything scary?
Yeah. It's like, yeah. What's the fix for it?
There's fucking nothing. Like you could sit here and rub everything away from exactly who you are as a person. But as a whole, if you just sit here and no longer watch or enjoy the things that you enjoy, what are you doing to yourself?
Yeah. Am I just broken now?
Yeah. Did I just rub everything away? Is there no acceptance anymore, if anything? Like, what the fuck's the problem?
I liked horror movies when I was 16. Good times. Back when they meant something.
I remember falling asleep to fucking horror movies. I don't know. What was your first horror movie that you watched?
I remember the first one I watched. I had seen like some movies on like the Sci-Fi Channel and stuff with my dad. I remember watching Anaconda when I was really young, and like the snake being scary and stuff like that. But the one that I still remember is like my first horror movie, and the first thing that bothered me is when I was 7. I think I was 6 or 7. My dad showed me this real. I watched it years later, and it's a horrible. It's just like very poorly made, bad. It's called Hallowed Ground. And it's about this stereotypical horror movie setup. This on a girls' trip, these two girls' car breaks down next to a cornfield in the middle of like some Midwest town or whatever, like some out of nowhere, flyover town. And they get lost. They go to a house to get help, and they get lost in a corn maze. And it turns out that one of the scarecrows is possessed and is like a killer, murders one of the girls, the other one runs away. And then it turns out that the town is in on it. And I forget the details, something about there is a curse that a witch put on the town 100 years ago. And now everyone who's in the town they can't leave, and they help the scarecrow. Oh no, I remember what it is, because I didn't get it when I was young, but when I watched it years later, I did. The scarecrow or whatever was like the Antichrist, and it needed a vessel for the devil to be born in. So the goal, what it was trying to do was trying to forcefully impregnate this woman, the main character of the movie, the Scarecrow, this living zombie thing, to birth the devil. That's what it was. As a kid, I thought it was just trying to kill her. I didn't get what was going on, and my dad didn't explain it.
God
But years
damn.
later, I was like, "Ew."
It's just like a more convoluted version of Jeepers Creepers. That's all it is. Like, the
literally, yeah,
fuck?
yeah. It's like Jeepers Creepers, but with forced, yeah.
The fuck, man. God
And
damn.
then at the end, like I think she like burns down the town or whatever, and then runs away. She gets away, I know. But yeah, but what stuck out in my mind as a kid was I remembered this scarecrow chasing people down. There's a scene I still remember of one of the girls goes missing, and then the other one finds her like pinned up on the scarecrow cross, and her jaw's ripped off. And I distinctly remember seeing the jaw ripped off and being freaked out by that. Um, so yeah, I like the stuff about the plot didn't stick out of my mind, but that stuff did. The images of the blood and gore and whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
that Hallowed Ground was my first horror movie.
So my first one actually wasn't as crazy as that, but it was a shitty horror movie. Wasn't as shitty as that either, though. It was Jason X, which is the Jason goes to space and then turns into Robot Man horror movie. And that was by far one of the most funny things. We're sitting there on, I think it was the night after Halloween or the night before Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And it was me and my mom sitting there. This was my first time ever fully sitting down to watch a horror movie. I was like, this is the character I want, the dude with the hockey mask. I don't know why he spoke to me. Just Jason is the thing. And we go through the first part of the movie, and she just winces at every single time somebody gets killed. Every single fucking time. They find Jason in a cryo chamber and bring him up to the spaceship or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they start unfreezing him to see if he could actually live and be a person or whatever. And then he reanimates after thousands of years and freezes this blonde chick's face after you see her titties and bashes it into the fucking medical table that he was laying on. And she's like, nope. That we're done now. We're done watching this.
And that's
we're done.
We're going home. There was a line, and that just crossed it.
It literally looked like, you know, the Jello that your grandma would bring to fucking Christmas or Thanksgiving dinner, the red Jello that has like little fruit chunks in it with like the gross fucking Jello everybody fucking makes and brings it to family parties. It looked like somebody froze that and then smashed it, and all the veggies kind of fell when her head got popped. I was like, what the fuck is this, man? Like, honestly, it genuinely does not make any goddamn sense.
Like, how old were you when you watched that?
It was 6th grade, so like 12.
Yep. That's a good age to watch heads getting bashed in. Yeah, that's prime time.
Oh, well, at that point, I was already listening to Cleaning Out My Closet by Eminem all day, every day.
Yeah.
So at that point,
Yeah, so
it's just like, it is what it
too
is.
far gone.
Yeah.
You're gone. Yeah.
I was irredeemable by that point. Like, the fuck you talking about? But like, yeah, it's fucking weird because as a whole, that shit just doesn't organically do the things that you expect it to. I remember watching my sister start watching her first horror movie, which hers was worse than both of ours. She watched The Crazies as her first horror movie, which I don't know if you remember that. She watched it probably like when she was 10.
The OG one, like the George Romero one.
The one that came out in
remake.
like 2009-ish, 2010.
The remake, yeah.
But that movie is super fucking gory and jump scare filled.
It is. Yep. That's a great movie for a kid to watch.
I don't think she watched another movie or slept with her lights off for a good 2.5, 3 weeks. It was bad. Like, she got thoroughly fucking scared badly.
It's a scary movie, man. I don't blame her.
Oh no, I think it's so weird hearing the first thing these people watch as like, oh yeah, that was the horror movie that got me into that, or that's what made me like this series or that series. And then it's like, yeah, my sister watched the bad zombie movie that's all blood, guts, and killing people. You might be like, yeah, oh, they probably watched it for the first time together, right? Nope. That was the third time my mom watched that movie and was like, yeah, that one. It literally just didn't make any goddamn sense. Doesn't make any
It'd be like
goddamn
that, man.
sense.
I tell you what.
Oh, it really does. So, shout out to G Fuel. They are sponsoring the podcast right now. If you go there, they have a buy one get one free sale. Go ahead, use that coupon. If you aren't going right now and you're watching the restream or the VOD, make sure to use code RMTS at checkout. It gives you 20 or 30% off depending on what you purchase. Make sure to go check them out. Also, there's a Raid Shadow Legends link in the chat. I will try and paste it everywhere, but I'm going to fail at that badly. And almost paste the StreamYard link because I'm bad at my life. Go check out this link and go do Raid Shadow Legends things because Raid Shadow Legends, they don't give me the fancy videos that they give people like Wendy, but I have a nice link that says Hot Load Zach. So go check out that link and go check them out and give us some love. So holy fucking hell, there's been a lot of fucking things going on conspiracy theory wise.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go with the fun conspiracy theory shit, or do you want to go with the crazy, more outlandish shit that is going on?
You lead. Whichever way you want to go, I'll follow.
Okay, so well, I guess ads were just happening. So probably the Barbie universe shit is absolutely hilarious.
I don't think I'm familiar with this one. What's this?
So obviously everybody knows. I think it came out on Thursday. It might have been Friday. The new Barbie movie came out last week. And it's kind of taken a lot of the social media by storm. It's kind of become an icon, surprisingly. And I think we all kind of expected that to happen, whether that was a feminist icon, whatever kind of wave. Everybody kind of expected this to have some sort of impact on culture as a whole. Mm-hmm. Mattel has come out today saying that they plan on creating a universe that will be larger than Marvel with all of their existing IPs.
I think I saw a tweet about this. I saw it briefly. Yes.
Have you looked through any of those IPs?
I have not. No, I'm unfamiliar.
It is absolutely hilarious which companies that Mattel owns that they are like, yeah, you know what? We're going to create brands and movies off of this. So obviously they own Barbie. They own the real dolls and all of that shit. I think they're called like American Girl dolls or whatever. Mm-hmm. But they also have amazing movie ideas like Fisher Price, Uno. Here's a big one, Hot Wheels. And I guarantee you this will be one of the greatest horror movies of all time, Barney. And don't forget about the rom-com Bob the Builder or the coming to age story of Bye Bye Diapers.
Bye Bye Diapers.
I am so confused with what brands they think that they genuinely can put into a movie series that will tie together with something like Barbie, because none of them are interconnected. None of them.
What
and it's
the
not
heck,
even
man?
it's not even like their stories don't interconnect and it could happen in the same universe. Literally all of these IPs literally don't make any sense unless you're talking about something like, oh, this all happened within Toy Story. That is the only answer. But
who looks at they're like, yeah, Greta Gerwig, renowned director, talented filmmaker, star-studded cast about this, coming of age story based around this character. I think we could translate that into Bye Bye Diaper. I think there's potential. Kind of. I hate that whenever products do well. So studios will look at the resulting, aftermath, and they're like, yeah, well, it's because it was an IP, not because it was, well directed, well acted, well put together, all that stuff. They're just like, yeah, it's a thing people buy, so let's do that again. Like it.
And
it's so
it very might well be because it's an IP and people love Barbie and everything else. It very well might be because it's a very, very feminist forward ideal. It could be a lot of different things. But just writing that off as just of let's ride this wave of Barbie into Matchbox, Minecraft, Monster High, and Bye Bye Diapers. I don't understand what the fuck your point is. It genuinely, like, if that isn't a joke, if that isn't hyperbole, there is a lot of things wrong with the movie industry that they could fund these things when there's things like Stalker going through that could have been backed by a lot of different things. There are a lot of different games that I'm like, that would work. That would work. What the fuck is the story behind Bye Bye Diapers? Are they just gonna stick the IP on a story? Like,
They
as a
have
whole,
to.
that's the
They
only
have
way
to.
that they're going to do something.
I have no
Because
idea.
there's no story behind it.
Yeah, like
What-
what are people there to watch? Oh, diapers, love those. Like what?
Like, and I'm just on our brand portfolio and reading off some of the funnier ones. Bye Bye Diapers was on the second row. So that's one that they're just pushing pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
Another one, My Password Journal. I think that's definitely going to be as strong as, you know, a lot of other diaries that we've learned about. I don't understand the fucking correlation behind any of these. Are they going to have a men's rights movie based off of the Power Wheels? Like, what the fuck?
If
What?
if Oppenheimer didn't also do really well this weekend, I would be so depressed. But I'm holding out that because something else made money, there will be more of it.
Oppenheimer's a very, very interesting thing as a whole, too.
Mm-hmm.
I like that they're starting to do more direct, descriptive dramas and thrillers about historical topics.
Yeah.
When you have that level of drama, like the Cuban Missile Crisis or Oppenheimer or these things, making you feel that energy and that stress about the situation would do fucking amazingly. Why the fuck are they struggling with that in any form or fashion? There is zero reason for them to.
Yeah. I remember when it got announced that Christopher Nolan's next movie is going to be, you know, Oppenheimer, a biopic. I mean, I trust Nolan, you know, to make good films, but I was really weirded out because, like, you know, this guy, Christopher Nolan, he makes like action films, like, you know, a lot of high concept action film or like complicated concept action
Didn't he do
films.
Dunkirk too?
He did Dunkirk, yeah, yeah. So like, yeah, most of his films are very, very like violent or, you know, action heavy and stuff. And I was like, he's doing a biopic. How's that going to turn out? And after seeing it, I'm like, I should have stayed shut up. Guy knew exactly what he was doing, as always. He's Chris Nolan for a reason, so he did great.
No, I trust him because one of my favorite movies is by him. I love The Dark Knight. It is by far one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, yeah,
It is very hard not to have all movies as gritty and as Dark Knight is. Those are the kind of movies I like.
Mm-hmm.
I like the ones that are on that edge of making you feel uncomfortable. I struggle when they're not, and they should be when they're things like, if they made a World War II movie with a happy tone to it, I wouldn't watch it. I just wouldn't. Like, if they made Bye Bye Diapers set in World War II, I don't understand why that would be acceptable.
No, I would have to see that. Whatever it is, I can't.
Well, it's going to be a dramatic comedy starring lead role Kevin Hart, who is coming of age. He's finally growing out of diapers at 16 in Nazi Germany.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm seated. I trust them.
It's okay, Mattel. Come let me destroy your entire IP because I think I will write a better movie than you will.
Probably.
But as a whole, it's very interesting seeing these IPs grow because it seems like a lot of them are just being thrown at the wall and hoping that they're going to work. And that's kind of what they're doing now. They're like, oh, well, Marvel worked, so let's reboot DC and tell the same exact story and do the same exact thing for the 15th time and not change anything and hope that works. Well, you already had a home run there. Why didn't you just continue it? No. We don't do that.
No, it's complicated. We're My ways are beyond your ways.
The next thing I'm interested in, and I don't know if you were interested in this either, is the Avatar: Last Airbender reboot that Netflix is doing.
Yeah, that's right. They're doing like the whole series, right? It's not just a film; it's like a
I
TV show.
don't know if it's a movie or a TV show. I know that it's definitely going to be longer form. I think it was greenlit for the first two sections of the story, but I don't know if it was movies or TV series. But I'm excited about it. I'm willing to see what the fuck they're gonna do, because it'll be interesting to see what they're actually able to accomplish with that level of kind of stuff. Because that story by far is one of the best stories from my childhood, at least in my opinion.
Hmm.
I love that fucking story. That shit is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I love Last Airbender a lot too. I like the original so much. I don't know if they could even come to the same level it was at really in the end. But I'm interested to see how it turns out, what they do with it. It's weird. Like normally, I used to be really excited for adaptations, but I think it's possibly partly because Marvel has taken the adaptation so far it means nothing to me anymore. But like the Last of Us, for example, like I love the game and I was really
Yeah.
excited for when the TV show came out, and then I watched the TV show and like it was good, but a lot of the time I'm just like, yeah, this is good. I liked it when I played the game. It's good here too, I guess. So the parts of the show I liked the most were the parts that weren't in the game, the stuff they added. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. It's new. It's neat. So I've completely had a 180. When I was younger, I used to be like, oh, when they adapt this thing I like, it better be perfect one for one match. But now I'm
It
like,
can't be.
yeah,
It can't
exactly.
be.
And now it's like when they adapt something, I want to see what they change. I want to see them switch it up. I want to see what they bring to the table.
Like when I sat there and was like, oh, they're gonna release a Zelda movie. They're gonna release a Zelda show. I think it was like 2007, 2008. It was one of the first things they leaked that Netflix was making back in the day. It was one of the first fucking April Fool's things that they're like, yeah, this, and made a 2 minute trailer that looked acceptable. It's not the, oh, you went to the water temple, you went and did this, you went and did that. It's the interweaving and the storytelling through the entire thing and how you show those things.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I do want to say this. I normally don't interact with chat, uh, but I swear to fucking God, if you have the entirety of Wendy's world on another screen and bring up modern media, you shit. Motherfucker, he's created a movie, and storytelling is something we both do. So as a whole, figuring out storytelling and seeing what the fuck these people are going to do with things, well, especially how they interact with normal interactions within the world, it's interesting to actually see other people's perspective on it. Especially when there's things like Barbie who actually have influence on younger girls and shit like that. There's a lot of things that have impact on people that genuinely most people don't pay attention to. And it's not just one to one this and that and this and that. I have numerous different things, man. But yeah, no, it's really, really fucking interesting to see how different things have gone. Because when I watched House of Cards or Gotham, I was like, yeah, let's keep killing this shit. And now it's like everything's fucking dead. There's no energy in anything that anybody's making anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything. Better Call Saul was really good. Like I felt a lot of passion and energy behind that. But that's mostly because Vince Gilligan just puts like passion in all his work. Trying to think if there's anything I saw. I mean, obviously Oppenheimer, but other than that, I'm trying. Oh, and Barbie, like Oppenheimer and Barbie are the new ones. But before them, I can't think of a lot of stuff that had like I could feel the tangible energy behind the screen.
Guardians of
Notes
the
out
Galaxy
there.
3 was really fucking good.
Yeah, I went and saw that with my family. Yeah, yeah. My mom's a really big fan of like the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, so we went for her birthday to see it.
Yeah, they told a really, really good story with that shit. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know about anybody else. I didn't really hear anything positive or negative about it. It was just kind of there, it happened, and all of a sudden it disappeared, which is surprising. The past two absolutely killed it.
I think it's a lot of people are just kind of wore out on Marvel. I know a lot of the fan base checked out after Endgame. They're just kind of like, yeah,
Well, it's the
whatever they
climax.
do.
How
Yeah,
do you go to a second climax? You're not going to be able to.
yeah. Like in Captain America dies, Iron Man dies. Like it was very apparent to a lot of people that the movie's like, all right, get off here. If you the end of the ride, you
End
can
of the
stick
ride,
around
get
for
the
the after
fuck
show.
out of the
But
way.
yeah, party's over, but you can stick around for the after show if you want. Because the only projects I've seen since Endgame was Guardians 3, and then I went with my family to see No Way Home, the Spider-Man movie. Yeah.
No Way Home
And-
was fantastic.
And you know what? I'll admit, they nostalgia baited me. Okay, it
Yep.
worked. Them.
It did. It fucking did. I'm not even gonna lie. It worked for me
I'll
too.
give it to them. They can't pull it again. If they announce that Maguire and them are in like the next
Nope.
movie, I'll be like,
Nope.
But they got me that time. They
So
got my
you didn't
$7
hear-
ticket.
You didn't hear the leak. Spider-Man 4 with Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire have been in talks and supposedly have been greenlit.
A Raimi Spider-Man
Yeah.
4?
Yep.
Is Sony or Marvel producing it?
I don't know if Sony greenlit
Or
it,
Disney,
Marvel
I mean.
greenlit it. I don't know. I just know that it's been at least in the talking level, and I saw that it probably is going to happen. I don't know how excited to be about that because I'm like, is it going to be the thing? It might be.
If it's like, okay, so if Marvel greenlit it, I'm like, because then it's like, it's going to be another No Way Home, right? It's going to be a Marvel project, like their multicam shots, how they do it. But if Sony greenlit it, because that's the original studio who did the original trilogy, right? The Sam Raimi
Yep.
trilogy. If they greenlit it, then we could be getting like a Logan quality movie.
Yeah.
That I would get excited for.
Especially a dark version of Spider-Man. We just saw him get fucking stabbed and everything
I
else.
would love an aged Spider-Man.
Because
That,
I would
like-
assume that it would follow the continuity of the story that's been told. He's in a different universe, obviously, but it's not a different version of him. It would be the
Right.
version that came and interacted with the story and stuff like that.
I
It would
would
be-
I would love that.
It would be thoroughly interesting to see that level happen. I wonder if it's going to be as dark as I assume that it probably would be, which is the hard part.
Yeah, especially because Raimi has mentioned before at length that the studio kind of ruined Spider-Man 3. It was, who was it? I know his name when it's mentioned. One of those producers I can't stand. It might have been. I don't think it was Weinstein.
It'd be kind of funny.
Or it might have been him, honestly. Weinstein ruined Snowpiercer. Not the film. He ruined it after it was made. Like, he wouldn't put it in theaters because he thought it was too weird. So went straight, like all that. I know he ruined that film. He might have been the one to ruin Spider-Man 3 because whoever that producer was, he went to Raimi. And he's Raimi's original script. It was just Sandman. It was a story about Sandman and him losing his kid and all that stuff. And there'd be some elements of Harry coming back being introduced. And then Raimi is approached by the studio, and they're like, but the kids love Venom. Venom's really cool. We could sell a lot of toys. People like Venom. You got to put him in. And Raimi protested for months and eventually got threatened, like, we'll cut the budget if you don't put Venom in the movie. So he's got a month to redo the script, keep all the elements he wants, and then tack Venom on to the end of it. So everything else got clustered, messed up. There was other studio meddling. So Spider-Man 3 got, like, rushed, the pace messed up and all that because of studio intervention. And he's always said that he wishes he could have given the character a proper send-off. So Raimi's had a story cooking in there. It's been in his heart for a while, ready to go.
And I don't know if it's nostalgia because I grew up with those first two movies. I love all three of them. I don't like the third one as much, but I love them.
As a kid, I loved the third one. Now I recognize how it's a worse film, but I loved it so much.
I wonder what is actually going to happen. I genuinely love those movies. I genuinely know exactly what the fuck I personally would do. But a grown-up age section of this is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I would be thrilled if they did it. It doesn't have to be Logan. Like, I know Logan for superhero films was very dark, but that's in line with the character. Like, the character of Wolverine is a very troubled, dark character. But if I would just love that Maguire Spider-Man to get a proper send off, because
Yeah.
I still feel like Spider-Man 3, like those movies define my childhood, and Spider-Man 3 ends with him like hugging Mary Jane. It's like, oh, maybe they'll do a bit better. Who knows? Like in a bar, and that's where that Spider-Man is. It's always been just like a weird place for it.
It is, but I don't think any of them genuinely have had a proper answer other than Endgame. Deadpool, there's
Yeah,
no real
yeah.
answer so far, and that's a one-off kind of series to itself. It didn't really interact with X-Men the way that you think it would have,
Hmm.
and that might be coming. I don't know. I just don't see an end possible. The Dark Knight, I don't think it should have ended with Bane. I think they had a complete third movie written that was probably different with fucking whatchamacallit. I think they probably had a third movie written with Heath Ledger that was
Hmm.
going to happen, uh, that they had to change last minute.
I've heard that they thought about bringing the plan was he'd be brought back, but since he passed away.
Well, was the Killing Joke written at that point? Because I would assume that that would probably be the next section of that story, or at least
Killing Joke
something.
was. I feel like Killing Joke was written like 2014, but I might be wrong. I might be way off.
Who the hell knows?
Do what?
I said who knows.
Uh, no, ain't no way it was written in '88. Killing Joke was written in 1988.
Maybe it was rewritten at that point. I don't
No,
fucking know.
written by Alan Moore. Yep, that's the OG. Wow. Okay, that comic's a lot older than I thought it
So
was. I
then
take it
maybe
back.
that's where they fucking were going to connect the two and push it through to, is just send him off the deep end and then kind of break everybody by being super aggressive. It kind of fits with the dark narrative of everything and everything kind of being drawn out with Bane.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I liked. Obviously, Dark Knight's the best of the trilogy and all that. I did like Dark Knight Rises for what it's worth. Like I liked the set pieces and stuff, but I do agree there's I've never felt comfortable about it as an ending for the character. But again, I'm not Christopher Nolan, so what do I know? Um, like a lot of Nolan's movies, honestly, a lot of his. It's weird. Oppenheimer makes me rethink Nolan as a director because I've always said that Nolan writes really good plots, story beats, and segments. He does not write great characters because I've
Yeah.
always felt like the actions and events are all that. Heath Ledger's Joker excluded. I've always felt that his characters are kind of swallowed by the world or events around them and stuff, like Inception, for example. A lot
Yeah.
of people remember Inception, like the events of the film, but they don't really remember like Hobbs or like the main characters, but battles against each other and stuff like that. But after watching Oppenheimer, like he did the character of Oppenheimer so well, I've been convinced like maybe I just didn't notice it before because a lot of the character of Oppenheimer is told through nuance. So I'm like maybe I need to go back and rewatch Inception stuff and maybe there's more character writing there than I'm picking up that I picked up on years ago. Maybe now I'm mature enough that I can reframe it. So maybe he is a good character writer and I've just been too mean to the guy.
No, I think a lot of those things are genuinely one to one hidden because of the story that he's telling within the world. Like if you look in Dark Knight, which I understand, I'm going back to that one. That's the main one that I've watched. It's one of my favorite movies. It's easier
Yeah.
to only talk about that in that aspect because I haven't seen as many movies or watched them as in depth. Um, the world is very in depth. The world is very expanded upon and could be expanded upon more, honestly. But with that level of depth behind the scenes, and you're paying attention to that and trying to look at the little subtle cues that he's going to give you, it makes you wonder is it makes you wonder is that hiding the storytelling within the character, because there obviously is a lot with things like the Joker. There is a lot of things wrapped around those things
Mm-hmm.
of what is going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I like his a lot of the characterization of the Joker was like carried home by like Heath Ledger and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but I also feel that Raimi was very clever in a lot of his writing tactics. Like even from a little kid watching that film, it felt like I always thought that the Joker was like a disgruntled soldier or someone. I never thought of him as outright crazy. Like I picked up on that even from a young age, and that's not to my credit. I'm saying that's to
Yeah,
Christopher
no,
Nolan's credit.
I think they wrote the story properly in that fashion. They allowed it to be more understood and looking at the things the way they should have been portrayed. It's fucking weird. Yeah, we're getting there, bud.
Like I always thought about like the scene where they're doing the color guard at the, I think it's Commissioner Loeb's funeral, when the Joker shoots Commissioner Gordon,
Yeah,
and he's got the makeup off and he's doing it. I remember being a kid when that scene was over and thinking like, how did he know how to do that? How did he know how to do the steps and guards and stuff? And I remember as a kid thinking, I bet he used to be a soldier. And that didn't mean anything to me at a time, but as I got older and thought about that, I was like,
it's kind of
oh.
logical.
Yeah, as I got older, I started thinking, and there's like that conversation he has in the hospital, his whole, I'm a dog chasing cars, that thing. He's like, if tomorrow I was to tell you that a truck full of soldiers would blow up, well, no one bats an eye because it's all part of the plan. But if I tell you one little old mayor would die, then everyone loses their minds. That thing. So I'm like, there he is bringing up soldiers again. And then there he is knowing like the soldier salute and stuff like that. And I'm like, is this guy a victim of like a proxy war? And now he's brought back to the United States this hatred for the system and for the state. Now he's using that knowledge to destroy it. And it gave me such a compounded, like, not compassion, but like understanding for the character, that as I grew up and started watching more media, I kept being like, man, not as cool, not as nuanced as the Joker. And I go back and I watch it now and I'm like, yep, still great. Still a great character, great performance, all of it.
That character is more in depth than most people fully realize as a whole. Like
Yeah.
you see that at the beginning where he's sitting there walking around in the middle of Gotham with face paint on, carrying his mask that he's going to rob a bank with. How the fuck does nobody just realize? That's how fucking fucked up that world is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so interesting. There's so much depth there that most people just skate by, and it seems like there is a lot more nuance in those characters. If that's how all of them are written, that most people just move right past. Yes, I think it was an amazing character portrayal, but I think that the writing definitely had to be there for it to be that good.
I agree. Yeah. So again, maybe Nolan knows what he's doing, and maybe I just need to grow up and rewatch his movies and figure out.
I don't know. People hate him for a reason. I don't. I'm not a movie.
I'm
snob,
starting to
so
think
I don't
they're
fucking get
crazy.
it.
I'm starting to think they know what they're talking about, man. Because I never hated him. I just thought he wasn't that strong of a character writer. But again, after Oppenheimer, I'm like, okay, all right, maybe I was wrong. Maybe he's as cool as I once thought. So I need to like. I remember rewatching Inception a few years ago and thinking that like the character struggle was more interesting than I did when I was younger. So maybe I just need to rewatch all his movies now and be like, okay. Because his films started out with a great character piece, Memento, the first film he ever made. And that was like a very strong, character-driven film. So, yeah, maybe I'm just dumb. Maybe he knows what he's talking about. What a crazy idea. The guy who did The Dark Knight might know what to do in movies. But yeah, I love The Dark Knight. Love all the stuff.
So obviously, with the Dark Knight being such a big thing in pop culture, and that kind of being the portrayal of a really, really disgruntled, fucked up version of a person, this JFK doc being released and then doctored and then released and then all of it redacted and then released again, and then they keep doing the same fucking thing year after year. It's really kind of funny, actually. Do you think we're ever fully going to get these documents released? Or are they just going to continually redact things until nobody fucking cares anymore?
No, and if they did release them, I wouldn't believe them at this point. If they're like, yeah, this is what they've always said, trust us, I wouldn't. Like, it means nothing to me.
Especially at this point with AI and photo editing and everything else.
Yeah, like sure, whatever. If right now the government's like, oh no, we're being honest. See, here's the piece of paper we wrote to tell you how honest we are. I'm not going to believe him. I'm fully convinced I don't know the logistics entirely of the JFK assassination. Was Oswald involved? Was he just a patsy, like he exclaimed? Was, this I think there was a second shooter. I know in some way or the other the FBI wanted him dead, and I think they had a hand in making that happen.
Yeah.
Even if on the most extreme end it was superb negligence. But I still think that they had a hand in it in some way. So if they show me a piece of paper telling me they're innocent, I'm not going to believe it. Like, again, they've been, those documents were supposed to release in like 2008, and they're still like 80 pages completely redacted. So,
Well, it's interesting because you had Trump coming out and saying, "Oh, we'll release everything. Just release it." And then they're like, "No, we have to redact it." Okay, release the redacted version. Then they release that. Now all of a sudden it's just that's all we're going
the
to
last
get.
time it didn't come out 2 years ago, they cited COVID as the reason.
Yep.
Oh, there's a disease. You're too sick to read the JFK files. Like, what? It's clown world, man. It's a joke.
No, I completely fucking agree. So this comment came through, and I think we both probably have an opinion on it. I haven't seen the video, but I guess Lamino just released a video based off
Yes.
of JFK. I'm gonna have to watch that shit and probably break that down on camera. But that shit is absolutely fantastic. But do you feel like he just did it that way, not covering the conspiracy as a whole, just covering what happened, to allow himself to receive ad rev and that stuff without questioning what the fuck happens? That way those things didn't get pulled. Because I assume that's probably why people are like, "Oh, well, why do you only cover this part?" At least that's what the comment says. I could be
Yeah, so
wrong.
I watched Lamino's video on it. For one, let me say, incredibly well made video. Like, that dude
I
had
love his content. Yep.
diagrams and 3D models and stuff, names.
Disgusting.
I'm insanely jealous of his production value. Dude makes great videos. That being said, I do not agree with what he said in that video. He said it in a great way, and I really like the video for that reason. But he focused entirely on what happened in the schoolbook depository. So, like,
Did
the
he do
events.
this? Did he do the same thing like he did with Jack the Ripper, where it's like this is the story that was told, and then showcase the story of how it happened in the eyes of the government?
It was more so he opened by establishing, like, this is the schoolbook depository. The Warren I don't even think he said the Warren Commission per se, but the Warren Commission's the commission that laid out all the events of the shooting. They're like, official record is he was at this window at this floor, and these are the events that happened. So then he runs through all of the reports and sightings that were made that day, and he talks in detail about, like, Lee Harvey Oswald was last seen at this time at this location. 2 minutes later, he was seen here doing this. These two people were on the stairway, saw him here. So his entire video is a play-by-play of all the different angles and sites of the schoolbook depository, which is very interesting. The reason I don't agree with, like, his findings or whatever is, for one, he just sticks to the schoolbook depository. Which I think is for one, I think is a cool concept for a video. Like, let's just talk about the school, what happened in that building. But this is no beef with Lamino. This is just, like, the reason I disagree with the video itself. He sticks to all of the reports and logistics that were given that day, and he highlights a lot of the discrepancies with it. He highlights a lot of the problems.
Mm-hmm.
Says that in one interview this person said this, but then 2 weeks later they said this, and that conflicts. And he talks about like this person saw this, but that's impossible if this person saw this. And he talks about how a lot of these discrepancies are very strange, but the truth behind, because I've read a lot of the same accounts he has, and a lot of the same, like, most of the interviews he listed while listening to the video, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that guy, or I remember that quote. And the thing I found while researching a lot of that is he even mentions it in the video. Almost none of them were recorded. These were all written and typed up by the FBI. And the issue is that most of those were not made public information until the middle of the Warren Commission, when they were trying to determine if the United States, or if the FBI specifically, was responsible for the murder of JFK. So basically, none of these reports exist. The people do. They were very careful about keeping
Yeah.
people who were there. So the people who, on the day of the Kennedy assassination, would say things like, "Oh, well, yeah, I heard a gunshot and I ran outside." Now that the FBI is under investigation, the eyewitness account becomes, "I saw a white man standing up above. He was on the seventh window at approximately 32 degrees due west, standing there." Like, it's far, details change entirely. And like Lamino even points out in the video, and it kind of blows my mind that he didn't pick up on it, but he says at multiple points, like, the FBI said that the witness testimony was this. When the witness was asked about this, they said they didn't say that. And then Lamino tells this story, and he's like, "Huh, that's kind of weird."
Well,
He's like, "That's kind of weird. Maybe the person forgot they said that." When the easy answer is the FBI just doctored eyewitness accounts that were there to fit a narrative. Yeah.
They wrote a novel for something that, oh, well, I heard a gunshot, so I went to go look to see what happened, and then I heard two more. It's probably not as far-fetched to think most people had that same exact story or very similar.
Yeah.
Oh, I turned 30 degrees and I looked up to this window. That's not how 99% of people talk, unless you're talking to somebody who's completely a character artist, where they're like, this is exactly where this happened.
And what like kills me a little bit about, again, Lamino, great guy, great YouTuber, love his content.
Oh, I love his content.
But what kills me a little bit about the video is he points out the discrepancies and then he does nothing with them. There were multiple times that he was like, "Yeah, this person says they didn't say that to the FBI. As a matter of fact, this account doesn't make sense with this one, and this guy says that he saw someone's facial features from 500 feet away." Oh well.
He did that for most, and I'll probably answer this whenever I go back through and actually do that video myself. But when I went through DB Cooper and the Jack the Ripper videos that he made, which are absolutely fantastic, go check them out. They are great.
Videos. Yeah.
He did the same thing where this is the story that was told in the media. This is the story that was told by the government. This is how everything lined up. And then sort of at the end, slightly gave his opinion on what possibly could have happened. Mm-hmm. That's what I expected from the beginning with Lamino. He's not really going to give his opinion. He's going to overkill it on graphics. He's going to overkill it on quality. He's going to go so far in depth. Most people don't fully understand the things that he's showcasing, but he's not going to give his genuine opinion on the situation, because that genuine opinion removes the availability for it to be accepted by everybody. Like, if me and you sit here and make a video about the JFK assassination, and we go into donut theory, and how the Coriolis effect of a donut is completely different than the Coriolis effect of the Earth. And so it had to be shot from the fucking overpass on the highway, which is why he went back to the left. That level is not going to be accepted by the mass group of people that would watch that content. Even if that is on your channel, they're going to call us fucking nuts, and they're going to say, "Oh, well, this doesn't measure up with this fact check, therefore everything's wrong." Going strictly by the commissions and statements, I think, is the easier way to keep monetization while talking about a touchy subject almost. Which, it's harsh because it's, I think, the right answer, but at the same time, it's shitty.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I could just watch Lamino's movie, like, great video, man, and he made a great video. Fantastic, still love the guy. But it hurt my brain being like, "Yeah, you're right, that doesn't make sense. Now keep going."
Push,
please. That little thing in the back of your head saying this isn't right. Just go with that. Chase it. And then he had this little breakdown at the end where he did give his opinions on it. And he's like, which Lamino never does, which is interesting that he did it here. He's like, for this conspiracy to work out, it would take a lot of moving elements and a lot of people with a lot of power who knew what they were doing. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, you're so close.
Why hasn't the angle of his head going back and where that lines up with the fucking bridge and the grassy knoll and all of that just shown? Oh, well, this is all incorrect. Because back and to the left and back and to the right It's completely different things.
I mean, just taking any of the logistics of that day about
Like,
the bullets
logically,
hitting the sound.
Logically,
like,
what the fuck are we doing here? Because there's 0 sense.
yeah, like
0 sense.
And again, the video just focused on the school book depository. I do agree that, Oswald was in the building. Obviously,
Yep.
he worked there. He was there that day. That's not up for debate. But like every other aspect, man. Like Jack Ruby, a former mob boss who had his family debts paid off for no reason. The mob boss who had multiple priors killed for the mob was just so mad that this guy killed the president because he loves the government so much. He runs up and guns him down 2 days after he gets arrested.
It genuinely, it doesn't fucking make sense. Like, I remember going through my lineage and going through my family tree and shit like that. I think you were one of the people I was talking to about it with like connections to the mafia and the mob and stuff like that. The dude my family helped, the state trooper that helped take them down, the head of the police of New York at that time, was Dewey, who the Thruway is named after now, the main highway in New York. So he's that big of a person that became his lineage, was taking down this specific mobster in upstate New York. The head of the government in New York, the governor at the time, I believe, I get them backwards because I'm fucking retarded, I believe was Teddy Roosevelt. Might have been Franklin Roosevelt. Obviously, I get them backwards because I'm not looking at it and I don't have Spark Notes in front of me.
When was this, say again?
20s, 30s.
Teddy Roosevelt would have been president, yeah.
No, it was the governor of New York, so...
that would have been FDR probably, because FDR became president late 30s.
I don't line them up properly as I'm speaking. It's just ADHD of not paying attention fully.
Yeah, actually, FDR was like the president for like 16 years or something like that.
One of them was governor. That's the one I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah.
But whatchamacallit, he was shot at the courthouse in my hometown, literally on the fucking stairs of the courthouse. They drove him down back alleys from Albany all the way down here just that way he wasn't shot in transport. Like, the story as a whole is fucking interesting. How this shit happens all the time is fucking interesting. He ends up dying to a fucking cop that walks in behind him into a whorehouse that was a boarding house. He walks up a brick-faced building in Albany, New York, and the cop put a pillow at the end of his gun and shot him twice in the back of the head and then walked out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, man. Streets are hard, I tell you what.
No, this shit's fucking crazy. As a whole, this shit is fucking insane. But those are the people we're saying worked with the government. What did they get for the government to actually just accept not only working with them, but then working with the government? If they were dying to dirty cops always. How the fuck does that make any genuine sense without payoffs, without things being done for them? It doesn't one-to-one line up in the slightest.
Yeah.
So the other thing that happened, I guess that happened today or yesterday. I missed this completely because life. What the fuck was this UFO hearing about? Was this new shit? Was this old shit?
There was this there's been a bunch of like committee hearings about stuff put out by the Air Force and Air Force bases and stuff like that, and they had some crack job.
The clips from the destroyers and stuff of just shit moving weirdly on camera, right?
Pretty much, yeah. That was the inception for it, but then it became like a matter of like, doctored images stuff. So they found this one guy who was a former lieutenant, I think, or something like that, who's testifying before the not the court, the whatever. He's testifying and
whatever hearing board
that some hearing, board, whatever.
Yep.
And he says that what is it? He said that aircraft were recovered after crash with non-human pilots inside. And he keeps saying that, like that exact phrasing, or he says
Yeah.
non-human biomatter. I think he said biomatter one time, or biology, or whatever.
So that's why
It,
biomatter is trending. Okay.
and he won't say specifically. He won't be like, "Yes, it's aliens, it's extraterrestrials." He's like, yeah, yes, sir. The affidavit says, not non-human biomatter found in cockpit of blah blah blah." This guy is completely insane. Because like the other stuff he mentioned, he was like, actually, sir, in 1932, Benito Mussolini, before World War II, recovered an alien artifact that he tried to gift Hitler, and that's why Italy was allies with the Germans during World War II, and that's why Germany was so reliant on Nazi. Like this guy has spent too much time on like,
Way too much
conspiracy
sauce.
theory
Yep.
websites. Yeah, and he's full bore like the Hyperborea is real. Hitler escaped into Agartha with which is stuff I do for fun, but this guy like he's about it. He believes it. So then he's before
Yep.
the court like, yes, we recovered aliens in this spaceship. But people are like, this guy is. It's funny this is mentioned after the JFK stuff because I just got
Yeah.
done talking about how the government can't be trusted because they're just people who have their own means and stuff. This is a government official who believes in ancient conspiracy alien stuff who's like, there's aliens and ships, we found them. And every other person who testified's been like, no, these are just like fast moving ships, popped up on someone else's radar, they caught a glimpse of it. We let them know it's no big deal. And then there's one dude who's like, there's aliens. We're finding aliens. And Twitter's just like, real? Is this real? Did this
I
happen?
heard that there was larger podcasts doing videos with two of the people that were going to be questioned on this stuff, which is why it was actually salient to me. I was like, oh, I wonder what the fuck is actually going to happen with all of this. Because is there actual validity to this? I don't fucking know.
People put way too much faith into the titles of government official and under oath.
Yep.
Both typically mean nothing to someone's credibility. So
Well,
it's
someone's
just,
credibility is totally dependent on who they are as a person. If
yeah,
they're a shitty person, they're still going to be shitty under oath. It really doesn't matter. They could sit there and be like, well, that's what I perceived. You're still a piece of shit then. There's no
yeah.
difference. Lying under oath is fucking nothing when you think about the person that it genuinely is. Like, what the fuck's your problem? I swear people just genuinely don't understand what the fuck it is as a whole. It's it the footage that I saw isn't even like clear cut has to be fucking a UFO or something like that either. It's just, oh, it moved to the left and then went up. No, that's non-human. If that really happened, absolutely, I could understand where your point is that that's non-human. Is it possibly non-human? Sure. Why do you think that though? What's your point? Because you're spouting a lot of weird ass fucking shit that makes no fucking sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really, believe it. I've heard nothing other than this one Coop Jobs opinion. Of even people saying they think it's real. It's literally just this one guy. So it means nothing to me.
So, with knowing your past and the things that get you excited, are you more excited about this UFO hearing commission bullshit, or do you find giants more likely? Because I know
Oh
you
well,
get
I
excited
think
about
giants are
giants. Yeah.
hold on. I think giants are 100% real historically that they did exist. Every culture has aspects of them they're mentioned in the Bible and stuff like that. As far as any being out there now, I don't think so. But because of that merit, I think they are more likely than aliens, only because there's evidence giants did exist, and there's never been evidence that aliens do exist. So I don't think giants exist anymore. That's like asking what do I think might be alive right now? Dinosaurs or
Oh,
aliens?
absolutely. I
Yeah.
understand that it was a dumbly worded question, but as
Oh
a
no
whole,
no,
it was
you're good.
a
You're good.
callback to your giant.
Do I think that giants were real at some point? Yes.
Do
Do
you
I think they
feel
are now? No.
do you feel like that, like giants, other things like dragons and stuff that show up within storytelling and stuff, all of those are real too, just like giants? Because
Well,
there's so much correlation in between the countries and governments and storytelling from country to country to country.
I think that there are inceptions, origin points for a lot of these stories. Not necessarily that they're similar to how they're depicted in media res
Yeah.
or stuff like
No,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah, like for example, giants, the ones mentioned in the Bible and by old cultures like the Canaanites and stuff like that are like 9 feet tall. And some people, some cultures have stories of giants like 30, 40 feet tall. I don't think they're ever that big. The giants are just mentioned as being
No,
the
but
pro
9 to
in the
10 feet
Bible.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
that
like
sticks out over the populace makes sense.
yeah,
Fuck,
right.
I
The
stick out over the populace.
Nephilim are mentioned in the Bible as being what happened when the sons of man mingled with the daughters of God and became like these, or sorry, the sons of God mingled with the daughters of men and became these, these massive people. But again, they're like 9, 10 feet tall, not like the 30, 40 feet. To the same regard, I think that there were probably giant serpents, giant, reptiles of some sort that were spoken of in tradition enough and became things like dragons, monsters, world
Yeah.
serpents, legends like that. There's a lot of through lines seen in old cultures. I think did have an inception at some point. Pretty much every culture and religion has a flood legend or a flood myth. Pretty much every culture has a leviathan or a giant serpent belief or something like that. And I do think they came from one origin point. I just don't necessarily think uh, I think it was a game of telephone throughout history. The stories change, get molded, and eventually the creature that comes out on the other end is completely different from the one that originally existed. Things like
Yeah,
giants and
exactly.
dragons.
No, it's just so interesting to watch those through lines happen throughout all of history
Yeah.
and trying to figure out what exactly those things are, if they're real. Are these stories real? What level are these stories actually acceptable? Where is the disconnect in the game of telephone? Because it happened somewhere. I understand that at some point some of this shit was real. But is it a 10-foot serpent or is it a 30-foot serpent? Did it breathe fire or did it just break shit? Did
Yeah.
it eat
Yeah.
people or did it stomp on mountains? Like at some point it's unbelievable. At some point it's completely not believable in any circumstance. But at what point was it?
Yeah. I think it came from somewhere. I just don't necessarily think every story of them's true, basically.
No, absolutely. That's why I think it's so interesting because of your like Bible backing and stuff like that and how you look at things because you do have that religious overtone or undertone to a lot of the things that you do. You're like, well, this doesn't make sense because like logically it doesn't make sense. And then some things you're like, well, religiously it doesn't even hold a light to what would make sense in that form or fashion at all. Is it hard to sit here and dive into things, whether it's horror or conspiracy theories, that you're like, religiously, this just doesn't make sense at all?
Hmm. Well, that's a good question. A lot of the time, it's different depending on the topic or what the
Yeah.
subject is. I have never found, and supported through scripture, I have never found a discrepancy between the Bible and reality, or between, biblical religious teachings or scientific teachings,
Yeah.
right? And a lot like the Bible's very clear that that it is good for us to explore and learn the world that we're in. Some of the earliest members of the church were philosophers and scientists and doctors. Like it's very clear that the people who appreciate creation appreciate the Bible are also men who study it, look into science, understand the world. And there's never been a point that the Bible's been proven wrong. As a matter of fact, history has only proven the Bible right. As we uncover
Mhm.
more artifacts and things, we find out that this random book that was written thousands of years ago was right about history that was completely undocumented otherwise.
You mean
Um,
there wasn't libraries that were 5 billion years old that we just uncovered in India?
I'm glad you saw that tweet. I was very upset about that. For those who
I
don't
I, I
always,
know you were.
for those who don't always talk about, there's this account on Twitter I beef with a lot called like History and Vids or History of whatever. And they lie all the time. People in the comments inform me that it's an AI account, like a bot just grabs random history facts and throws them up, which explains it. They lie all the time. They make stuff up. It's the equivalent of, how like your aunt or your grandma will share something on Facebook that's like, can you believe it? This church from 5,000 years ago had a piece of bread that looked like Jesus. Press like for prayer or something like that. That's effectively what this account does. And I'm quiet about it because I try not to beef with people. I try not to cause issues. But they tweeted that a library was found in Tibet I believe, somewhere in China, a library was found that dates back 10,000 years, and I couldn't be quiet. The earliest writing samples we have ever, like Egyptian papyrus and stuff, are roughly 5,000, 5,500 years old. Earliest civilizations were that we can date exactly were like 6,000, 6,500 years old. And this is like, oh, there was a library from 10,000 years ago.
It was so amazing to watch somebody that I like respect intellectually and respect and know that they're right say and correct something, because so many times you see these fucking Karens be like, no, this can't be right, the 5G's in the water, and it's like, the fuck are you talking about?
5G's in the water. That's what I feel like with some of these people.
You're genuinely fucking retarded. I promise you, just shut the fuck up. Like, Wendigoon, please just autocorrect everybody on Twitter, because I think that Twitter would be a better, sorry, not Twitter, X would be a better place. I feel like I'm talking about a sex website now, but X would be a better website if you just autocorrected everybody and fact checked.
I want to like pick fights and do stuff like that, but bro, 10,000 years old. You are. Hold on. Let me just pull up. Because I remember being. I also saw this tweet at like 4 a.m. and was very upset. And what I felt vindicated is, first of all, community notes came by and corrected them with what I said, and then they deleted the original tweet. So I was like, I win, haha. But yeah, okay. I said it lies on a regular basis. I said, if these books were 10,000 years old, that would be 5,000 years older than humanity's earliest writings, such as the Epic of Gilgamesh, early Bible segments, and Egyptian hieroglyphs. I said that this account does it all the time, and I wouldn't say anything but 10,000 years, in a land that wasn't settled yet, regarding religions that didn't exist yet, and is written in... Oh yeah, that's another thing. So Chinese is not a language. People from China typically speak Mandarin. Chinese is not a language. It's an ethnicity. Kind of. It's more so Mandarin, but like
You're
saying the word
incorrectly, you retard.
Yeah, saying they speak Chinese makes no sense. And then sure enough, the account said these books were written in Chinese. So I'm like, it also says it's written in Chinese, whatever that means.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, like, do you mean Mandarin, idiot? And then he says, I said, it's claiming that Tibetan languages and religions existed several millennia before any other people by a long shot. In fact, it's going before many believe humanity even existed as we know it today. And they had a library in the mountains.
And then was the Avatar.
Yeah, and like I did 5 minutes of research. I was like, what is this monastery? And it has a really cool history. The library was a collection of different religions, and during like several of the Chinese like wars that took place between different ruling empires, every side regarded the library as a sacred location because it was this communal joining of all these different religions and ideas. So everyone would defend the library. If this side beat the other side in a war, they would protect it. When the other side fought back, they wouldn't have war within the library, and that's why it's preserved, because even though they were at war, everyone considered it a time of something more sacred, something greater. And like, that's beautiful. That's such a cool note in history. Everyone respected this library. Why did you lie and say it was 10,000 years old?
That's what sites like that should be, honestly. Like, as a whole, like, if you look at those things, whether it's religious or just factual things, it would be nice for those things to be preserved. Do not fucking fight around them. Get the fuck out. It's not a place that is defensible. You lose if you have to go there. It just is what it is. Yeah. Let the things actually stand still. We'll go back to the religious thing in 1 second. I do want to make one joke towards the chat, though. What does Wendigoon think about flat Earth? We believe that donut theory is much more salient than flat Earth theory.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, the Earth's not flat, it's donut shaped, so figure that one out.
Yeah, exactly.
When you look up at the sky, it's blue because you're looking at the ocean. Somewhere, it's another ocean. If you look really close,
it's just an ice ball that's rotating in the center
at
of us.
night that the feds call stars. So it's really just boat headlights going back and forward. So
exactly.
The more you know. Yeah.
When you're going up a mountain, you actually go down and then...
Yeah. If you go too far, you'll just go the other way. It's like a flip.
You'll fall off the side.
Yeah,
oh, wait.
You gotta be careful about it, man.
So, as we were talking about before we got derailed by dipshits posting about 10 billion year fucking old libraries. Is it weird trying to find that logic in religion and connecting it to things in conspiracy theories and stuff like that?
Yeah, so a lot of time, like I said, so what I was saying before that is, scientifically, yeah, the Bible, with the Bible and history, Bible and science go hand in hand. It's never been disproven; it's only been proven more so. So as I come across these like conspiracies and stuff, it's never a question of like, oh, is the Bible wrong? Is this outside of my realm of understanding? As I come to stuff about like, how the world works, how history works, how, the supernatural especially work, it's not a question of do I think the Bible's right or wrong? It's is my understanding of the Bible right or wrong? So for the example I use a lot is ghost, right? I personally
Yeah.
don't believe in ghosts. I think that the Bible says to be absent with the body is to be present with the Lord. When someone dies, they either go to heaven or hell, what have you. So, because of that, I personally don't believe in ghosts. If tomorrow there was like hardline factual evidence, like ghost caught on tape, here it is, here's how you summon them, ghosts are real, or what have you, there's a lot of Christians who would look at that and be like, oh my gosh, the Bible's wrong. God's not real. I can't believe this, because that would shatter their faith because they're so mainline in the idea that God is real, therefore ghosts are not. Whereas if I was to find out ghosts are real, I would just say, oh, okay, my understanding of the Bible is wrong. It's not that the Bible was wrong. The Bible's entirely been proven correct. And there's places in the Bible that talk about spirits, lesser gods, summoning, necromancy, the coming back of the dead, of souls and stuff. And there's times that, so if ghosts were found out to be real tomorrow, I'd be like, okay, so that's what those parts of the Bible were talking about. And I just misunderstood it. It's not that God's not real. It's just that I didn't get it right. So as I do research into stuff into the paranormal, I keep that in mind because it's never the idea that God isn't real or that, the Bible can't be right. It's that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I misunderstood. And that leaves enough wiggle room that as I look into things like the supernatural and stuff, I could be proven wrong. I've been wrong about stuff before. So that leaves enough for me that I think it's real and it's interesting to search in, but it doesn't challenge my faith.
So I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm speaking out of ignorance in the entire realm of religion. Hopefully, you do not take this negatively.
Oh,
I'm going to
you're good.
challenge you. I would rather lay it out that way so that way you understand. I'm not trying to be disrespectful if I word something incorrectly. But
Good.
isn't it very, very easy to just write it off as I didn't understand it, which is very, very introspective and the proper way to go about things. So I'm not saying that it's a negative thing to be able to do that, but isn't it easier to just write it off as you were incorrect instead of something being so vague that everything could be caught in it?
So you're saying, is it easier to say that? Are you asking, is the Bible? Are you saying basically, is the Bible vague enough that it can allow for anything to be true? Or
That's kind of where I'm going to. I'm saying, like, it seems like a lot of the things that people point towards the Bible of this is proof that it is real, this is proof that this happened, or this is proof of how this could work, or this is proof of how any of these things go. It's vague enough to be able to point to, well, this isn't true because of this. Oh, well, he didn't say you couldn't eat shrimp. You couldn't eat shrimp then because it was unsanitary, which is kind of like going back and kind of rewording what is actually genuinely there. So I understand where you would put logic to it and kind of put those things together. But is the vagueness of what is written or what was written at the beginning, because those details and those facts obviously do change as time goes on, does that vagueness of what was written originally make it easier to automatically correlate it to what your belief is or what you're seeing introspectively
is
now?
it flexible enough that people
Yeah.
can effectively apply it as a non sequitur to anything? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm saying, yeah, I get your question. Um, I think that is mostly the fault of people who don't know what they're talking. Not you. I'm saying people who
Yeah.
apply it to everything. People who like, oh, well, the Bible says I can do this because it really doesn't know what it means. That's mostly people who just don't know what they're talking about. Because if you read it, it's pretty plain about most of it. So,
Yeah.
for example, the shellfish thing. So it's mentioned several times in the Old Testament under the Hebrew law or the Abrahamic covenant that they are not to eat shellfish, never eat shellfish, never eat of unclean animals, things like pork or whatnot.
Yeah.
Never eat of dead things. Never eat blood, which is probably a good
It's
idea
all
even now.
logical things. No,
It's
like
stuff like that.
that
So
that's the
go
thing is
ahead.
like it's very hard when you're not when you don't have that faith, when you don't have that religious backing to then come in this and look at it and be like, okay, I can understand why people realistically look at this when they've been shown it their entire life. They see the logic in it, they see the basis in it, but it is very hard coming out as somebody who hasn't been religious ever and looking at it without that faith or the ability to jump and believe it when a lot of these things are like it's vague enough to where it falls under everything. It's
Well,
logical enough to make sense always regardless,
right,
and you
right.
can kind of move it where you need to.
Well, so to finish the thought on that, that's in the Old Testament. That's under the law of Abraham. They're not to eat shellfish,
Yeah.
not do stuff like that, right? Okay, the law of Abraham was followed and very clear. It was definitively the law of the people, the law of God's people, until Jesus Christ. This is why the Old Testament and the New Testament is so important. Under the Old Testament, they were under the law, they were under the law of Moses, but Jesus came to fulfill the law. So it was prophesied, Son of Man would come, he'd be born of a virgin, he'd die on the cross, Jesus Christ did all that. And then after he's dead, he was very clear through his life that with me, the old law ends. Once I'm dead, the law does not matter. You do not have to stick with it anymore. If some choose to follow the law, then sure, like it's not wrong to do it, but you don't have to follow the law anymore. And the whole New Testament, which is Peter, Paul, the early starters of the church, are very clear that, yeah, the old law doesn't matter anymore. You don't need to stick with it. So when people say stuff like, "Oh, well, yeah, we don't have to follow these rules anymore because we don't no longer have to worry about it being sanitary," those people don't know what we're talking about. We
Yeah.
don't eat Christians don't eat shrimp now because we have better hygienic standards. We eat shrimp now because Jesus said when he died, you can eat shrimp now.
Yeah.
It's very clear to anyone who reads it that the Abrahamic law is done away with. The same reason we can wear mixed fabrics, the same reason we can have women go off and work jobs on their own without men needing to live with them. All of those rules that we do now, or that was done then, is no longer followed now because Jesus was very clear: when I die, don't worry about those anymore. So again, that's the Bible clearly stating, like, here's a rule. Rule doesn't matter anymore. Here's your new rules. And again, everything that's set up in the New Testament afterwards, all those laws, and again, everything that correlates with history and science, I haven't found a plot hole yet.
That it's very hard listening to you who's very very eloquent and disagree. And
That's fine.
I
You can disagree.
no,
I'm
no,
not the final authority on
I'm not
anything.
saying
It's
it that
okay.
way. I'm saying like I never believed in these things until I heard people like you or Taylor speak on it and speak about the stories that are taught. So it's very very hard to just openly disagree always, which is very very weird because I'm willing to question people. I'm willing to just step out on a limb and be like, "Nah, that doesn't fucking smell right, man." Like it just genuinely doesn't. It is very hard in this aspect to take it one to one and understand that something could always be right. Something could always catch everything. Something can do every single step of, well, this was all laid out before us. This was all guaranteed to happen. There, in free will, you only have a choice of, do I do this or do I not? There's very, very little difference in what happens in your life. It's kind of predetermined at the beginning. And I know that those are kind of disagreements within the church or religion as a whole. So I understand that that might not be your personal thing, but it
Well,
is
I
very
mean,
hard when people prescribe those things and look at something that is supposed to be taken directly, right? And I'm not trying to speak out of turn. Correct me if
oh,
I'm
you're
wrong.
good. No, no, no.
No, like so many people say that you're supposed to take it directly and word for word, and this is how it was said, and this is what was said. But then they're like, well, this is how I interpret it. It's hard to believe all of it then or understand all of it when it's, oh well, take it as prescribed, right? You just read it how you read it, and that's your rules, right? It's so tongue in cheek. It's very very hard to kind of understand what the hell it is. What the
Yeah,
hell is it
and
supposed to
like,
mean?
so in my opinion, the majority of issues that are caused about the modern understanding of the church, of the Bible, of all that stuff, 99% of it comes because Christians don't know what they're talking about. The number of Christians I know who do not read the Bible, who have never taken the time to really break down or analyze. Like, for example, what you were talking about, and I'm not saying that just you has heard
Yeah.
this. I have heard this multiple times too.
Yeah.
People who say, "Oh, well, we can eat shellfish now because it's not unsanitary." That guy has no idea what he's talking about. Is that how he thinks the Bible works? That you could just not do stuff because we're more dignified now? That makes no sense. What on
No,
earth? They
that's
do
just-
that all the time. All the time, Christians will
That's
just like
just-
they'll make stuff up because they don't know the answer.
It's me putting logic to it. Like, I could understand why that change would happen over hundreds or thousands of years. Like, I understand, I could perceive why that would happen.
But
as
again,
a whole,
like the Bible is greater than logic. It is the God of the universe giving direction and benefit to man. We don't eat shrimp now because we think it's fine. We eat shrimp now because
Exactly.
Christ said, you can eat shrimp now.
I'm just like not being religious. I could understand why the reasoning logically would be that.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, that is something that I could understand where there would be a change and there would be a different aspect that would lie within something that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is why people get sick when they eat unclean shellfish, which is why people get sick when they eat unclean pork.
Now, I think a lot of the Abrahamic
one-to-one.
laws were set up back then for partial sanitary reasons? Sure, yeah. But we didn't, quit doing them because we know better now.
Non-sanitary.
Yeah, we quit them because Jesus died on the cross and now the Abrahamic law doesn't matter anymore.
Honestly,
that was the whole point.
This might be my complete ignorance. It doesn't seem like anybody knows that. It doesn't seem like anybody genuinely realizes, oh, well, these things changed. It seems like those are still looked at as the rules and the laws of what are supposed to happen. Therefore, they never change. That is how you're supposed to take things now still. There was no story in between those two things that connected them. It's just, this is the laws still continue. That might just me being completely blind. But
it's not just you. It's like I said, it's just because Christians don't know what they're talking about, and it kills me. It drives me insane because we have entire books of the Bible in the New Testament dedicated to explaining why the law does not matter anymore. Peter spent most of his life after Christ died explaining to people that the law doesn't matter anymore. There's this whole argument. There's like 2 chapters dedicated to it where Peter gets in a fight with people in the temple because he didn't wash his hand correct. There was a certain way you had to wash your hands in the Abrahamic law before you eat, and he didn't do it. He has to fight them for 2 chapters straight about how the law no longer affects your own spirit or your own soul. That's all done away with. That's why Christ died on the cross. It's like we have the Bible clearly stating that you don't have to worry about the old law, and then you go ask a Christian, hey, why don't we have to worry about the old law? And they'll say, because we know what a germ is now. Like drives me up a wall because the answer is right there. And as a Christian, you're supposed to know better, to point people in the right direction, but they don't take the time to know better. So instead they just lie, meaning goodwill.
And this part isn't derogatory towards you. It's as a whole. It seems like a lot of the people that are very, very far deep into religion, like it's everything that they live and breathe. It's everything and an answer for everything that they can perceive. They are the people that don't pay attention at all and don't understand it. Yep. And then there's the people that are so far removed from it and just say they are and correlate it to everything they do and correlate it to everything that they want from it and use those things as just allegories towards what they are as a person or who they believe they need to be. And then they connect it that way of, oh, it's just everything's positive. We accept everything. We don't disagree at all. Everything is okay. Everything is awesome. And I think that's why everybody doesn't want to swallow the pill or realize that might be a possible answer. Is there's acceptance and pulling the story towards fitting your narrative on both sides. The idiots that want to just absolutely know nothing and are so far deep in it, it's the answer to everything. And then there's the people that just fit the story to themselves, and that obviously is the full story. You're wrong because you perceive it in the wrong way. Yeah. Both of those people rub everybody the wrong way in those aspects. And it's very hard to come in as somebody who doesn't understand, doesn't look at it, doesn't want to understand, to see it in that light when, as a whole, it is very hard to fucking realize that.
Yeah.
Or understand the truth or understand where the basis actually is because you're coming in blind.
Yeah. But I will say Like I said, the majority of the problems come because people don't know what they're talking about. But as someone who does, not that I understand all of the Bible, well,
No.
I do. Not that I, let me rephrase that. I can understand all of it. Not that I'm perfect in the way I say it or explain
Yeah.
it to people. Um, I have never found a discrepancy between reality and what the scripture says. I've never found a place it's wrong. I've thought it's wrong before, and then I read what it says, and I'm like, oh, I was wrong. Not it.
Was there a time that you ever questioned it to the point where you're like, I just can't keep going anymore?
I I won't say I questioned it to the point that I lost my religion or whatever, that I lost my faith
Yeah.
in God. But yeah, I think every Christian, the Bible says several times to ask questions of the Bible, to ask questions of God, because who would my God be if he didn't stand up to questioning? Like, well, who would I be
Yeah.
if I'm
Like,
like, yeah,
you don't
he's
have a
God,
story at that
creator
point.
of the
Yeah.
universe, but don't think about it too much. Don't ask too many questions. No, the Bible says, "Study to show thyself approved." That's a direct quote, and it says, question the world to know thyself accountable. To, like, if you see a discrepancy in the world, if you see a discrepancy in the Bible, ask questions, learn. Don't just let it set in your mind and be like, huh, that's weird. That's the worst thing you can do. That's what the Christians, like you just mentioned, who say, oh, I guess we can eat shellfish now because I feel like it. Like, that's what they do. No, ask questions of yourself. Understand what any question you could have, the answers there in the Bible. Go looking for it. So, like, as I think, honestly, any good Christian should. I was fortunate enough to be raised in a Christian household. My parents, taught
Yeah.
me a Christian doctrine at a young age. I learned the stories. But when I got older, especially like when I was in college and stuff, I had a sit down with myself. I'm like, okay, this can't be my parents' religion forever. Why do I believe the things that I believe? And I did an extensive dig into where religions started, what the first, because everyone says Christianity's not the first religion, it was Zoroastrianism or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh well, Christianity's an offshoot of a Canaanite religion that became a Jewish religion or whatever. Um, so it's like, okay, how do I know that the Bible is right? How do I know that it's the correct one if there are these religions? How do I understand? And during this entire time, I never went into it with the idea of, I don't think God is real, I'm going to prove him wrong. It was more so, how do I know to explain to others that I believe what I believe? And
How
in
can
that
I
time,
prove
I
that I'm right?
became.
In that, in yeah.
How do I know that I'm right?
Yeah.
Like, how do I have the satisfaction in my own that I'm willing to point others the right direction, and I can point others in the right direction?
Yeah.
So I did extensive research, reading, all that stuff. And again, every time that I thought the Bible might be wrong, it was just me. The Bible is, and not that I was trying to prove it wrong or anything, but the Bible has always been the infallible word of God. And I, for the life of me, myself, and every historian, professor, scientist in the world also can't find faults in it. So, like,
Well,
it's won every test in my book. So
even if the Christian ideology as a whole, the points are correct, the person might be correct, but little things might be wrong. Does that devalue your opinion in those times of like, let me figure out if this is real? Okay, am I betting wrong, or is it just, okay, you know what, in the grand scheme of things, if I'm slightly wrong, I'm still right because I'm still doing the right things. I'm still going about this in the way that I should. I'm just not doing it in this precise way because you have Allah, who's very similar to Jesus. You have all of those interconnections that all of them sort of connect in one way or another. They're all kind of the same stories that are kind of touch and go with each other.
well, there's a reason for that.
Well, that's my point. Is like, I get what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, obviously that shows that it's right. I understand.
The stories had to come from somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is like, could one offshoot be slightly incorrect to the point where it's just slightly wrong?
Oh, you're saying, are there any
Did you
offshoots that get the point?
When you question yourself in those times that were hard, that you're like, hey, is this just my mom and dad's religion or is it mine? Did you feel, oh, as a whole, I might be at least in the right ballpark? These are about the same, but this is the one I'm comfortable with. I'm going to keep going this way. I think this one's right. But if these are wrong and this
Really?
one's the right one,
Yeah.
they're all about the same. It's not going to change very much.
I don't think that would apply to things as broad as, say, like Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, whatever.
Yeah,
Maybe down to specifics. I could see that, like Catholicism or Orthodox or
absolutely.
Protestant, different branches of Christianity. But Christianity is wholesale, has always, like I said, whenever I was having these questions of doubt, it wasn't like, oh, well, which one do I think is
Nothing's
right?
correct.
I,
Yeah.
I always felt in like my soul and stuff that Christianity was correct. It is the right one, and I just further proved that with, but to myself with more information and reading I did and whatnot.
No, and I hope that nobody takes my ignorance as me being an asshole or derogatory, because I'm not trying to be. I'm truthfully speaking from ignorance and questioning myself. So I'm just trying to understand.
Oh, no, no, yeah, but basically, as I did, you know, as I did looks into, okay, like, and again, it wasn't so much like, oh, I don't think I'm a Christian. It was, why do I know that I am?
Yeah, no,
And
absolutely.
as I did research into it, I mean, it's been proved historically time and time again. All these different stories, all these different religions incept off the Bible in one way or the other. The Bible is the only religion that wholesale deals with the betterment of the self, the soul, rather than like some race, creed, people, idea, individual, empire. It is about a personal relationship with the Creator and mankind. Um, it's the science or the history it gives has been backed and proven time and time again by religions. Like, for example, the Zoroastrian thing, the idea that, like, there were all these different religions that existed pre the church. Well, for one, Zoroastrianism is mentioned in the Bible as the religion of the Canaanites and the religion of the Moabites and stuff like that. So at the time the Bible was being written, it did exist. So it is a pretty early religion, but everyone said that it predated Christianity by like 1,000 years until they started finding tablets with inscriptions written to Jehovah in mountains that were dated all the way back to 4500 BC, which is 500 years earlier than Zoroastrianism showed up. So it's like, yeah, again, the Bible always said I was here first. And then people were like, no, it wasn't. Zoroastrianism is. And then we did more digging. And then we found, no, actually, the Bible was here first. It's like, yeah, it has always said that. Just because we don't think it's right yet doesn't mean it was ever wrong.
No, and I think that's the interesting salient point is it seems like a lot of those things were found 10 billion years ago in that fucking library that so many people didn't
It
realize
all
was
goes
actually
back
there.
to that library.
No, it's just it is so hard to deal with hard things in your life and look at these things and be like, okay, what did I do wrong? And be introspective and try and fix it in that way and only in that way. Because so much of that is just, okay, I am the one who's wrong. It is very, very easy to take yourself as the one who's wrong. It's very, very easy to take yourself as the person that is the answer for why you're having a problem. But it is also very easy to look at something like religion and put the blame on that as well. And I think I've kind of come to the term with that and tried to not do that. Of like, well, I question that of, am I really agnostic atheist? Do I really just not believe in anything because there's no proof, because I don't understand or I'm too retarded to get it? Or do I just fall back to what I was shown as a child because it is the easy answer of like, okay, well, this will guide me even though I don't believe it. It's very, very hard to kind of come to terms and understand what is actually being shown to me as what the answer actually is. And I don't know if I'm saying that correctly or I'm
No,
just
no,
bumbling like a retard.
I
But
get what you mean 100%. It's you everyone asks questions. Everyone
yeah,
understands, like, am I just following this because it's comfortable? Am I just following this because it fits? And I think the most important aspect of religion, the one that's comforted me the most, is my own personal spiritual journey and understanding of the Bible. But it's also comforting for me to have knowledge, to have, things
yeah,
that, info about, how it was written, when it was written, stuff like that. Um, and again, to me, time and time again, it showed itself to be correct. But even beyond that, like, the teachings and the words of the Bible as it exists in the spirit, as it exists in the person, the soul, it is the only reading I've ever seen that fully and completely benefits the person above all else. It is about a personal walk and relationship with God, eternal destiny of the soul, and how to better your responsibility and commitment to yourself and others. It is full bore a benefit to all who truly understand it. Now, do people take the words of it and misuse it for tools of hate and malice, of course, that humanity's evil. It's going to do stuff like that. But those who actually imply it are fully made for the good. Time and time
No,
again.
and that's what's so interesting about it is like a lot of the things that I see religious organizations do have the right meaning behind it, but it's so desensitized and it's looking at things in the wrong way.
Hmm.
It really kind of rubs me the wrong way. And I don't know if that's just very, very introspective to like my local stuff or what, but like so many things will be, well, this religious backing is helping people with addiction. This religious backing is helping people out of bad situations. And it's like, it seems almost like you're being the light for that person's sorrow, which is the positive outlook and the positive thing. But then your only answer is you're pushing them to religion. Your only answer is that backing, which is, in my opinion, the wrong way to go about it. It shouldn't be just because you follow this religion, you're accepted and helped in the time of need. It should be you're helped and looked at in the time of need always by everybody. It's just, it's so weird when those things are only religiously backed. But the only reason that they're religiously backed is so that way you come to church on Sunday. It's just such a catch-22 that it's hard. And I guess I'm trying to put all of this on you, and I probably shouldn't be.
Oh no,
But
you're good. Hey, I've studied to show thyself approved, right? Be ready to give an answer.
it's just, it's so hard to understand the correlation between those things and why it's done in that negative outlook to people that don't receive it.
That what's done in a negative outlook.
Like, and you might see it completely differently, but like when you're an alcoholic and you go to Alcoholics Anonymous, why is the only answer, why is the only thing that people receive beneficial help from churches or church
Mm.
backed objects? Oh, the only answer out of this isn't self will. It's not, oh, I am not a, I, not that I can grow and be a better person. I am always an addict. I'm always an alcoholic. Well, Jesus made me this way, therefore Jesus will take me out of this. It's not I can grow from here. I can do better. I can rely on myself to make the correct choices. It's always the only thing that is more powerful than me as God, and I am weak in this situation, therefore
Mm.
I have no control over it.
Yeah, again, I think that mainly just comes back to bad Christians, because that's not at all what the Bible says. It's very clear that, you're to be your best self. You're to, arise to the occasion. You do that through Christ, through prayer, meditation, all that. But God didn't make anyone an alcoholic, and God doesn't want anyone to be in suffering.
That,
The Bible actually says specifically, this is a quote, the Lord is not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to betterment and repentance. So it's very explicitly like, no, God doesn't put anyone in false straits. The world is full of disease and corruption and birth defects and stuff like that because it's a product of a sin cursed earth. But God specifically isn't going around like, you're an alcoholic, you're in poverty. It's all a factor of man's decision. So a Christian who says, oh, God will bring me out of it, has no idea what they're talking about.
it's just like that. That's so
Well, hold on,
dismissive.
hold on, hold on. For the record, God will bring you out of it with dedication, hard work, doing better,
Yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah, yeah.
and I understand that point, regardless of if you're religious or
Not that
not.
he's a
Which is
magic fairy that you can rub the
yeah,
genie bottle. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that is my perspective on it. Is like you can't look at the life that you have or the world that you inhabit as something that will give it to you, something that will hand it to you, because you're never going to be able to receive that. And if you do, that's sheer dumb luck, and that shit happens. But as a whole, if you just expect things to be fixed because you believe in something, that is never going to happen if you don't put the work into to back it, regardless of if you're religious or not. So I guess that just rubs me the wrong way, because it's like so many people just perceive that as the only answer, and it's frustrating. It's absolutely infuriating, because it's like that demotivates so many people, because that is disgusting. In a as a whole,
Mhm.
you're preying on those people to come in and give you $20 the next time they have $20. Like you're
Yeah,
incentivized it. You're giving them, oh, I am the mystical wizard. Listen to me. I will pull you out of this. But when you have it, come give me that $20.
yeah. And like I said, that's just Christians being bad at it because that's not what the Bible says. You're supposed to bear yourself to better. As the church, we're supposed to take care of those who need taken care of and stuff like that.
And I agree
James
with that
said
part.
specifically, pure religion, undefiled before God, is to take care of the fathered and the widow, the widowed and the fatherless. So the Bible's very clear: take care of people who can't, but they're to get better themselves, not just be in destitute their whole life.
No, and that's why it's so triggering to like try and understand it, is like that doesn't make sense. That doesn't correlate with what you guys say it does. Not you specifically. I'm saying that in like the hyperbolic way, but like it's so confusing because that just genuinely doesn't line up with the core teachings of what so many people say.
Yeah,
it's like that's
hey,
derogatory.
Man, like I said, majority of problems people have with the church is just because there's bad Christians, which is tragic. But that, again, if every Christian understood that, people are to get better through God doesn't force people, you never would have heard that. And a lot of people wouldn't have heard that because that's not what the Bible says. But again, bad, lazy Christians are responsible for most of the problems with the church. They're bad representatives of Christ.
So obviously we went super, super in depth with something that probably didn't need it because I'm absolutely retarded.
I love it. I love it.
But there's more lighthearted shit going on that I would love your input on. Neither one of us are suicidal. Let me say that before this. Hillary Clinton, you are my best friend. I love you to death. Joe Biden, I promise you, we did not find cocaine in your White House. What the fuck is going on with Hunter Biden? Because this shit is just getting crazier by the second, to the point where it's like semi-unbelievable at this point that so many people are so negligent that they don't want to look at things anymore. Like, how are they hiding something that is so right in front of our face, but making everybody look like they're crazy looking at it?
And welcome to the world of U.S. politics, my man.
Like, as a whole, we just found cocaine in the White House. There are logical answers for that right in front of us. Oh, that wasn't cocaine, guys. Well, you said it was. That's like them in 2001 saying, oh, well, there was anthrax found in the White House, which they said there was numerous times. Nah, guys, it was just Tide laundry detergent. Don't even stress about it. Tide laundry detergent is our entire problem. Let's just take powdered laundry detergent out of the stores. Fixes everything. Yeah. Now, just like that crazy motherfucker in the UFO hearings, we have a senator holding up cue cards of revenge porn level shit in the middle of Congress hearings about Hunter Biden's laptop. It is so hard watching a proxy war happen, this shit go down and not be talked about at all by anybody who's salient or understanding or even being looked at as understanding in this situation, because everybody's being silenced about it. It's so fucking scary to look at this shit, because I don't want to say it's a JFK level shit because nobody's died just from this specific outcome, but it's getting to that level where so many people have been shut down talking about it that it's getting to that level of conspiracy. What the fuck is behind this? Is it just a coked out White House kid that is just doing the wrong thing publicly, or is there more things that touch it? And I don't think we're ever going to know, but the fuck is going on, because it's making everybody look either crazy or just blindly accepting everything.
Yeah, American government is always going to disappoint me, so I just let it happen. I can't do anything about it.
Did you want to hear a story, my man, or are you just absolutely dead on your feet? You're starting to get it.
I've been running all day. I've had a lot of podcasts and stuff like that. If you're good here, my guy, I think it's been a good episode. We can call it.
No, I didn't want to keep pulling you and dragging you along if that's not what you wanted. You seem exhausted and you're like, after the religious shit, I'm exhausted. So I don't want to keep being like, come on.
Final burst of the energy for the day.
I got the energy, man. Okay. Ask a question to the guest. Have Wendigoon design an original saw trap. Make him happy for once, considering we'll just close it on something we talked about at the beginning. How would you fuck somebody up with a saw trap? Hypothetically, not in real life. Fuck everybody who takes this as gospel.
I had a plot, like when I was younger, I remember watching the movies and I had an idea for one. Oh, it was a, this is really dark. It was a you're like face down in a bathtub, right? The face down part's important, and not a bathtub, like a bowl effectively, right? Like that.
Yep.
And you're face down, you're restrained at a place you can't bring your head up.
Yep.
And there is a this is very dark. There is a saw blade that is stuck into your wrist like that. Your hands are down like this. You're face down in the bowl, and it's slowly driving into your wrist. And the cuff
like
on the back, like a jigsaw. The cuff on the back of your neck is easy to get in. It's easy to undo and like get your head up, but it's slowly like
you're
grinding
hurting yourself
away.
To pull yourself out.
Yeah, it's slowly grinding away at you, and to get out, you have to pull that way. So the only way you can't pull
cut
up
off part of your hand.
You have to effectively vivisect your whole hand from like here up. You have to drag it like that, which will cut your entire forearm into two pieces. It'll split the bone, your hand bone, and stuff like that. If you don't, and you lay there too long, you die not from the bleed out, because it's not cutting you like this, where you're going to die from slitting your wrist. It's going to cut like this. You die from the blood pooling in the pan, and you drown in your own blood.
And I'm going to say this in the most genuine way possible. When did you think of this?
Probably high school. Hey, we talked in the beginning. I've watched way too much disturbing stuff. So you either drown in your blood or split your arms open. So,
and I don't know if this is a good saw trap, and we'll end it on this. So I just thought of this as you were saying this, and I got the idea of a bathtub, but not just a normal bathtub. One of the 2-person bathtubs that's like a jacuzzi bathtub, and you're laying there with your legs sort of spread open, your head in between your legs, so in between your knees
like
or thighs,
feet, like
depending on
okay.
But your ass on the bottom of the bathtub, you're pushing yourself down. But obviously you're being held there by a piece of plexiglass that's holding you there in that aspect. You can push yourself up, but the sides of the bathtub obviously would have to be edited to the point where they become walls that are closing in, like the hypothetical Indiana Jones movie where it's a hallway that's closing in. So you're slowly squishing your fucking head with your legs by the pressure that's being exerted from the walls.
Okay.
All you have to do is sit up, but your feet are pushed and nailed to the other side of the fucking bathtub, and your hands are nailed to the floor. So either you're
rip.
Yep.
Ooh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's like a tube of toothpaste. You gotta rip your feet and hands off and like tear your skin and bone and stuff, or else you get compressed sideways.
It kind of goes back to the original Saw storyline of you have to hurt yourself to realize what your life is valued at. Is
You
hurting
have to
yourself
hurt yourself
valuable?
to live. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Instead of just everything being unbeatable, understandable, you will never live life to the same level at all ever. And this was Real Men Talk Shit. We'll see you fucking next time. Holy fucking hell, that's a lot of fucking buttons to hit. Come on. Yes. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I was trying to end it.
No, you're good, man. Very nice.